name is Charles Myung-sik Yoon. My Korean name is Yoon Myung-sik. I was born in 1963. I am an attorney. I've been an attorney since 1989. I'm currently a owner of a small law firm called Yoon Kim. So I was born in Seoul, Korea, December 13, 1963. Shortly after I was born, my family moved to Brazil. My father was a diplomat. I think I lived in Brazil from the point I was around one year old to maybe 2.5 years old, after which I came back to Korea and lived in Korea for several years. I started kindergarten in Korea, and then we moved again. We moved to Thailand this time, and we lived in Thailand for several years. Came back to Korea when I was in second grade. Attended school, attended third grade, and also the first semester of fourth grade. My earliest memories are from the early days in Korea after we had returned from Brazil. I do remember that I spoke, apparently I spoke some Portuguese, that I would always be asking for pasha, which apparently meant going for a walk. I remember living in Korea in the early 60s, going out and playing, eating bandegi and, all sorts of fun stuff like that. When I came back to Korea as a second grader, I had to attend Korean school, and my Korean wasn't great, and so the kids would say, hey, he's from Thailand. And so that's why his Korean is like that. So I did feel that there's a difference, and whatever I did, if it was something wrong, they'll say, oh, that's because he's from Thailand. And just as I got used to speaking Korean again in elementary school in Korea, my father was placed at Chicago. And I attended fourth grade in Chicago, so I started learning English again. We lived in the suburbs of Chicago, area called Kenilworth. There weren't that many Asians, and we were in a pretty, non-Asian area in the suburb of Chicago. So, I got into a fair number of fights. I do remember, getting picked on. And I do remember I didn't take kindly to being picked on, so I would always fight back. So, I have memories of sort of rolling in the mud, getting into fights after school. I don't really remember what it was about or why or necessarily even with whom, but I remember a fair number of confrontations growing up as a kid. Nothing that serious. Partly, I guess it was discrimination, and I think it was because I was from Korea that certain kids picked on me and targeted me and picked fights with me. So I think I sort of felt in some ways most out of place when I was growing up in Chicago. And just as I was getting used to being a elementary school student in Chicago, he had another job assignment, which was in Africa. So we moved to Yaoundé, Cameroon. After that, my father was transferred to Sri Lanka. But after a year of that, my father decided that I should go to boarding school in the United States. So I started boarding school in 9th grade. I went to Lawrenceville, which is a boarding school in New Jersey. I had started training in Taekwondo early because I guess I was sort of rolling in the mud a lot. I knew that I had to defend myself. So at Lawrenceville, I became very involved with the Tangsudo Club, and eventually got my black belt at Lawrenceville, and I became an instructor there. So at one point I had 35 to 40 students that I was teaching. I was once approached by a football player. I think he was a linebacker. He was really sort of, he was taller than I was, stronger, muscular, and he had a very serious proposal, which is that would I be his bodyguard? Because he had to, for whatever reason, I can't remember, he had to carry cash from one location to another to buy something. And he said, I need a bodyguard. And I thought maybe, and he was completely earnest that would I be his bodyguard? I said, sure, why not? And I thought, this is interesting. So it is true, I was not picked on because I developed a reputation for being the karate guy. In fact, I rescued some kids from, being picked on. I remember there was one student that I was friendly with, and he used to get picked on a lot. And what they would do is they would drag him into a room and shut the door, and who knows. So at one point I knew that that was going on. It happened right in front of me. So I actually broke the door down. I didn't mean to. I gave it a kick, and then the door actually collapsed. And then they were all shocked, and they let the kid out. The housemaster came up to me later on and said, "Yoon, I heard you were practicing karate in the hallway. Don't do that again." I said, "Okay, I'm sorry. I won't do that again." So the karate club actually sort of became this refuge place for a lot of kids who got picked on, and you kind of got the reputation that if you joined it, then you were kind of safe, if you will. So after Columbia College, I went to Columbia Law School. I was interested in human rights as an undergrad. I had seen a lot of suffering and injustice, growing up in different places. I remember, when I was going to school in Cameroon, I think the Ugandan ambassador at that time, who was under Idi Amin, got called back, and his son was somebody that I knew. And I heard that his father and maybe even he had gotten executed. So I knew that the world was a rough place, and there were a lot of things that sort of needed to be righted about the world. And I thought, what, I could by getting a law degree sort of start changing things. My parents, really. I mean, they were the kindest people to me. They were extremely nurturing. They gave me every opportunity. They probably spoiled me rotten, but they helped me acquire the foundation so that I could go off on my own and pursue my dreams. So, I have to say, the kindest people to me were my mom and dad. My name is Charles Yoon, and this is my Korean American story.